So before we move to today's program, I would like to just shortly repeat the scope of the webinars for those who weren't following us on Monday. So the aim of the whole series of these webinars, which is actually composed of 5 webinars, it's just to raise awareness among the Czech institutions of the importance of being represented here in Brussels. And we want to do this by providing a general overview of various Brussels-based stakeholders in the field of research and education. And thus, we want to motivate our research institutions and universities to become really more active in these networks, ideally by posting their representatives to Brussels. And during these 5 webinars, we will have almost 20 associations presented. And even though a membership in some of those is only by invitation, you can still benefit from their services, like attending their events or benefit from some other source of their services, and those you can expand your network. And there are also some networks of which some Czech universities or research institutions are already members of, like, for example, SEFI, from which we will hear today. But it might be that not all the faculties, for example, of the universities, are benefiting from their membership within these networks as much as they could. So yeah, we would like to make you more active in those, even in that existing networks. As said at the beginning, we will have 2 distinguished speakers today with me. Both of them are women. So we have Klára Ferdová from the European Society for Engineering Education. And then we have Gabi Lombardo from European Alliance for Social Sciences and Humanities. And before I pass the floor to them, just 2 or 3 housekeeping rules. So as I mentioned already at the beginning, the event is recorded. And for the smoother streaming, please, I would like to ask you to mute your mics and do not forget to unmute yourselves when you will be asked to speak. And also, when it comes to the session itself and the structure, do not hesitate to post your questions into the chat or by raising your virtual hand next to your name. And so, as of the structure, we will have 2 presentations at the beginning, and then there will be time for your questions. Without any further ado from my side, I would like now to pass the floor to Klára Ferdová, who is a Membership and Communication Officer at the European Society for Engineering Education, also known as SEFI. So Klára, the floor is yours.
Hello, I will share my presentation quickly. All good, you see it? Great. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us as SEFI to your series of webinars. I think it's a really good opportunity for us to present ourselves with the Czech stakeholders, because the outreach is always not obvious, although myself, I'm Czech. So if you ever try to contact me, you can also do it in Czech language or Slovak, because I will understand. So my name is Klára Ferdová. I represent the European Society for Engineering Education, which is a European NGO, kind of gathering a network of universities that are gathered for the purpose of enhancing, strengthening, and improving the education of future engineers, or current engineers too. Okay. So I will start introducing this. This organization has been around for about 50 years. Next year we will have our 50th anniversary. It's primarily a network of universities, but also individuals can join us. From the Czech Republic, we have 1 member, and it's the Czech Technical University in Prague, which was also my alma mater. So I don't know if there is anybody from that university, but hello. And other than that, some of our working groups have worked already with professors from other Czech universities as well. This is the biggest network that exists in Europe for the purpose of engineering education. So we have other counterparts in the United States, in Australia, in the Latin American countries, and so on. But within Europe, we are the overarching organization for engineering education. You can see the numbers. I think I don't need to read them. So besides institutions that are our members, it can be also individual professors that are interested in specific cooperations on specific topics, where, for example, the whole department doesn't have the opportunity to join, or the particular individual doesn't have a position at the university that would allow him for the whole university to join. Other than that, we also gather associations and student organization, etc. So those are professional bodies, accreditation organizations, etc. And then we also have industrial members, so they help us with the European business or European university industry relations, and you see them named over here. Mostly these members are, let's say, or companies that develop tools for the universities to use. So some of those tools also are used in the industry, but many of them develop teaching tools. So why SEFI? SEFI is mostly a networking organization. It gives a platform for creating meaningful connections for the goal of improving the engineering education. We do have a scientific journal also that is published every 2 months, and you can learn the latest research in engineering education from this journal. Then, yeah, there are regular thematic groups. So we call them special interest groups that basically gather professors with common interests, such as, I don't know, ethics, gender and diversity in engineering, but also professors of mathematics, for example, physics, and people who are interested in continuing education of engineers, and many others. I will get to it later. We do organize debates on European level. We do also facilitate European projects and act as a partner if sometimes you might need a partner for your European project for dissemination. We are an ideal partner for that because we can spread the news within our network. And yeah, we also offer various awards for innovative endeavors in engineering education. So that our next big thing is actually coming in a week and a half, and it's our annual conference that will take place in Barcelona. The topic of the conference is towards the new future of engineering education, which can, I know, mean pretty much anything. But basically, we are trying to address the new needs for future engineers, the always changing landscape that we have now in the profession. And not only in the profession, but even with the relations of engineering to other professions and so on. Yeah, just wants us to address this issue post-COVID, Ukrainian war, etc. These things are very imminent. The future is very unsure. So we are going to look at how to educate the engineers for the future. This conference is a scientific conference, so all our proceedings will be then presented in and published in Scopus also. It gathers for about 400 participants that bring, I think maybe 200 contributions, many contributions in different forms, but all of them are scientific work, kind of concerning the engineering education. You see the website, the registrations are still open. You can register until Monday. So in case there is anybody interested within the guests, I warmly invite you to join us in Barcelona because it will be a very good one. It will be the first in-person conference after 3 years, and we are really looking forward to it. Lots of effort has been put into the organization by the university, the Polytechnic University of Catalonia in Barcelona. So yeah, you're welcome to join us. And the next thing that the SEFI also organizes is the European Engineering Deans Council. So this is a SEFI body that specifically gathers engineering deans and directors and rectors and so on. Anybody who is involved in on a high level on the with the university management. And this group organizes biannual meetings nowadays that really concern topics that are relevant to them, that are kind of maybe more transversal. It can be digitization of the campuses. It can be also, I don't know, mixing the curricula between faculties and so on. There are always interesting first-hand examples of best practices of how it has been done in some exemplary universities where you can get inspired and also you can mingle with your peers, which is always really useful on this level. So there is this next meeting will be in May at the University of Twente in Holland. So also you are invited to that. I think the website will be launched very soon, maybe within a week or two. So then you will be able to register also for this event. Then over the COVID times, we created these SEFI at Work webinars. So the idea behind this is to take a short time within your workday and learn something about new trends in the engineering education, new research. It can be also the forms are very diverse, so it can be a very hands-on workshop like the next one that we will have, which will be on gender and diversity, but it will be specifically on how to address kind of uncomfortable comments in relating to gender and diversity, discriminatory comments, how to best approach them. Again, it will be people who work on this scientifically, so they have done lots of research on this, and they will share the best practices. So, but these webinars can also talk more about how to make research or about specific latest topics on engineering skills, on sustainability and how to make the faculty more sustainable, or how to integrate sustainability into your curricula. and so on. Again, you're welcome to join. These are totally free of charge. Anybody can join from within and from outside the organization. So it's completely open, and it's a good way also to get to know us and get to know the academics that work with SEFI. Okay, our completely brand new thing will be the European Engineering Educators podcast. It will be launched at our annual conference in a week and a half on the 19th of September. And again, this will be free. It will be available on all the platforms, so you can listen to short podcasts that will usually take about 30 minutes, anywhere in your car, um, in your break, while jogging, while walking your dog, anything like that. And yeah, you can connect through this, and you can also actively participate if you decide to join SEFI then, and share your research and your findings in the engineering education. So this is a brand new thing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we do have kind of year-long activities gathered in our special interest groups. So these are the main topics that we have: attractiveness, on how to attract students to engineering, ethics, I mentioned before, gender and diversity. Engineering education research is mostly focused on research methods, and they also organize doctoral symposia. Engineering skills, online education, lifelong learning, the sustainability, capacity building on educating your staff also. So that's quite important too, and it's a quite active group as well. Maths, physics, and then curriculum development that kind of covers that all also. These are the publications that we use to reach out. So there is the scientific journal, and then we have a monthly newsletter. We have a weekly press review and a bi-monthly newsletter on ethics that is usually really packed with interesting articles. And it's totally the work of the special interest group on ethics. So what to say in conclusion? SEFI is a very inclusive organization. We like to welcome new universities or individuals interested in engineering education. We try to be dynamic, give an opportunity to new projects, new platforms. Anything that you come up with, we try to make space for it within our community. And yeah, we also help the new connections for, let's say, EU projects that you would like to conceive or be part of. And yeah, we definitely try to facilitate the connection also between the society and the business and the universities, so that they have a platform where they can communicate freely, and they can influence each other. They understand each other. So this is SEFI. I think that's all from me. There are many more detailed activities that you can find on our website. I didn't want to go so much into detail, but I'm totally here for any questions that you have. So
Thank
this is
you,
it from
Clara.
me.
Thank you, Clara, very much for this comprehensive presentation. So we can see that you have a busy period ahead of you. So fingers crossed with all the conferences and workshops and podcasts. We are really looking forward to it. I may have some questions for you, but I will save them for later. And now I would like to give the floor to Gabi Lombardo, who is a director of European Alliance for SSH. So Gabi, the floor is yours.
Hi, Denisa, thanks. I'm just connecting with my slideshow. Here we go. Perfect. Can you all see it? Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm very happy to be here. EASSH, which is a bit an unfortunate name, I would say, but it's the European Alliance for Social Science and Humanities. I'm struggling to, oh, here we go. We are much younger than SEFI. We were not born in the 70s, for sure. Now we only very recently came to the surface, and we were set up in 2015. But the organization actually really was launched in end of 2018, I would say. Nonetheless, we start with barely 18 members, so we are over almost 70 members now, over 65, and it's composed of 2/3 of universities, other than university as a whole, like Bergen University, for example, or the Faculty of Social Science Humanities, or only the Faculty of Humanities sometimes. And then we have 1/3 of disciplinary European associations. So the European Sociological Association, for example, or EASSH, the European Consortium for Humanities Centers, or Carmen, the medieval associations. I have to say, we grew very fast, incredibly so. And we are the only really large umbrella organization for social science humanities. We're also the largest advocacy and science policy organizations in this field. We have not the same tradition as engineers, so we are much younger into this interface with policymakers, which makes actually the organization have been, at the beginning, I was a little bit concerned. We were talking about interdisciplinarity, but actually the result was extremely a welcome step, because finally they had the policymakers in the discussion for funding, they had a first point of coordination for the needs of different disciplines, which are very fragmented, very scattered. But finally, they come together for a very coherent discourse about what is needed in social science humanities research. We were born specifically with this remit and mission. We are the interface between researchers in organizations and policymakers, particularly in the science policy discussion. We have no other larger, so we're not looking at education. We've been working on the sort of alignment of research policy and education policy, which quite often can go step by step. But let's bear in mind the education remains of national competence. And so is no of European competence. We've been very active in pretty much spell out what are the needs of this community, as this community has changed rapidly, particularly for the impact of technology. And therefore we tried, and I have to say I have to have a little bit of a tone of pride, because it successfully had an influence on the design of investment of research European funding. And if you bear in mind that the largest amount of funding in social science humanities group or focus, research focus, has been the 650 million in Framework Programme 7. Horizon Europe has a 2.1 billion cluster, which is SSH driven. Of course, I'm not saying that this is all our merit, but I think that we contribute substantially. And the fact to have a strong, coherent voice, to have a number of position papers regularly attaching or connecting or pointing out what the bottlenecks of the current design or the previous design and the current design it might be for our research and our researchers has had his result. We also aim at making social science research more visible. We know that we have a large number of journals. Actually, 60% of the open access journals in Europe are in social science humanities. Yet, our visibility as a research or researchers or researcher result remains slightly obscure. And this is because of the fragmentation, because of languages, because of the local level of researchers sometimes. So it's been quite important to create a kind of a bright spotlight on social science humanities, and we are working hard on growing the attention and the visibility of what our research delivers. There are no association of this kind in Europe, but they are similar in the world. So you're not connected like the SEFI was well connected with the same organization across different countries or different continents. We have a really large network of social science humanity associations, like the Canadian Humanities and Social Science Federation, or the Codestria, who's the social science and humanities in Africa. It's actually a work in progress. It's never done before. So bear with us while we grow and develop and conquer the world. Well, the whole purpose and the key message that I want to give here is that we work as a bridge between the policymaker and the research community. With the policymaker, we're trying to really strengthen and stress the importance of long-term sustainability of the research investment. So beyond the pressure, the policy priorities, the today problems, it is important that the national funding remain focused on support of research in social science humanities on the largest possible spectrum, because we never know what the next problem, the next crisis will emerge from. On the other hand, and here I thought the audience, the right audience for this, is engaging with science policy. Two things. This seminar is called How to Find a Space in Brussels. Well, don't do yourself. It's really important that not only we engage with science policy, we understand the dynamics, we understand sometimes the games, but also the technicality of how funding of research are distributed and addressed. But we do together. We do together because we address much better our needs if we have a critical mass, if we have a visibility. And this is a really important the European point at the European level, because there are so many voices. This is a really busy bubble, and there are lots of very vested interest. It is really important that when we bring something forward, it's not perceived like a small group of interest, a small group of scholars, but rather a larger community. Now, we know the social science humanity researchers in Europe is almost a third of the research community, yet their voice is, when it's not coordinated, is scattered and it resulted to be just the claim of few people. Then having each has made a difference in that sense. Our policy papers have been recognized as a voice for a research community. That's matter. Within 40 years of life, we became from completely unknown and never heard, being one of the 20 stakeholders in some of the major science policy debates. So we are stakeholders in the European research area. We are part of the discussion on the transformation agenda of the higher education. We are one of the stakeholders of ESFRI, the research infrastructure platform. Actually, there is a conference next week on Thursday where we've been invited in the panel. We also part of the discussion and stakeholders in the EASSH, the Open Science Cloud, and the discussion around open science. We also act as independent for national ministries, because as you know, funding is not just a matter of European funding, it's not just about Europe, is very much about the national funding. The more national funding support social science humanities, the more Europe will do the same. Therefore, it's extremely important, as much as it is to be present in these large European science policy discussions, also to have members who are active at the national level. It does make the difference. It does make a difference for us. It does make a difference for ministries. And I tell you a little secret about ministries. Sometimes social science humanity is last on the list when the negotiation at the European level. So the louder you are on national level, the louder the ministry hear your voice as a social scientist and humanities in your national context, the better it is at the European level in the negotiation at the with the other European ministries. And we are also a trusted partner in science and technology issues. We have been consulted with large perspective and large proposals, which include the research councils, for example, to make sure the social science humanity is not the cherry on the top. It's not the last arrived in the game, but it's part of the so-called co-design. You have heard a lot probably of this. But we're part of the debate, we're part of the discussion, we contribute with the research question that matter to us into the larger spectrum. This is all I got to say. I just want to keep it short and smooth, and I'm very happy to receive questions, but also to welcome new partners. So if you want to become a partner, you send an email directly to me. My email address is just down there. We discuss with the governing board, and then the approval comes directly from the governing board. We are very open. We are an open platform. We are start involving also some foundations have been supporting. We don't have many industry in social science humanities, so we got foundations are very keen to support our work. We have a good relationship with different type of organizations, private and public. And from last November, our last General Assembly, we also had approval to include, as we go ahead, potentially NGOs and think tank within their organizations. So, because social science is not just for academia, as we know very well, but also has a expanding and exporting a number of our scholars in very important organizations like NGOs, for example. I stop here. I'm happy to respond to any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby, for this presentation. I can just confirm that you are really very active here in Brussels, and you are doing your job greatly, because we can really see the rising importance of SSH within the framework program, and not only in the cluster you mentioned, but also intersectoral. Yeah, fingers crossed, and please continue to do your job as you do. I just wanted to ask, because you were rightly pointing out the need of critical mass in Brussels, that it's not really beneficial to just to send the representative here, but really to be part of networks and to be active. And you also mentioned the necessity of being active at the national level. So I just wanted to ask if there are any similar SSH association at the national level, like which you cooperated, like within the EU. I'm not aware of anything, but I'm not really following this field. So.
No, actually, I mean, at the European level, we're the only one, and at national level, they are not. Well, okay, there are some sort of coherent groups. We have to bear in mind in the game for funding research that there are the research councils of the funders, the main national funders, that tend to have a network of colleagues or recipients of funding and so on, who they consult on a regular basis. But we are slightly different. We are a bottom-up research organizations umbrella group. So we are not funded by anyone. We don't have to, respond to anyone. And that makes our work more complicated in terms of funding, but a lot more easier in terms of saying exactly what we want to say. There are non-national organizations, but there are not many national organizations disciplinary nature. On the other hand, other disciplines have a long-lasting lobby groups, which have been working a bit more systematically in relationship with ministries. We don't. We're very new to this game. There is an obvious reason to that, because traditionally we've been considered social science humanities as needed less money. Might be true in the substance. I think this is more about scale and not about the dimension of the research. But we have to also bear in mind that the impact of technology on our research has been much bigger than has been on other disciplines. And therefore, working with big data, working in labs, so we work psychologists working with MRI, archaeologists working with the navigation systems is a change of the disciplines. And maybe that's in some ways justify a very different shape that these disciplines are taking, and therefore a different need compared to previous years.
Okay, thanks for answering this. I would like to encourage our audience also to ask their question. You can write them in your chat, or by raising, you can ask them by raising your hand. And I have a question for both of you regarding the membership. So Gabi already something mentioned. So how can a Czech institution become a member of your association? Gabi mentioned by just sending an email. So are there any membership fees, or how does it work? Is it somehow limited just to some small organization or big organization, or what are the requirements?
Okay, do I go ahead? Well, as I said, there is a request that we send an email to me directly. It depends. There is a different structure for membership for fees if you are an institution, so if you are a small association with no budget. So it depends, and that depends also on the structure of the association budget. Not like, SEFI is very different. It's called structure working groups. So what I gather from the presentation Clara made, we don't. We have a task force. So people working with each work for 2-3 weeks. We deliver a specific output and put together our energy, work intensive for 2 weeks, deliver what we need to do it and move on. So the participation into each activity and work is completely voluntary by the member. And they can choose and decide how much or how little they want to contribute. In all fairness, I have to say one thing before someone else say to me, because I had this told, I've been told them several times. Someone said, well, Gabi, you're doing this for social science humanities in general. So if I'm member or I'm not member makes no difference at all. And I have to say, true. I mean, the cluster, SSH-driven cluster today is 2.1 billion, and it's for anyone. It's not just for the members of EASSH. However, we couldn't have achieved that if there wasn't a critical mass behind it and it wasn't a coherent voice. So your membership, it does matter.
Thanks, Gabi. And Clara, if you can also comment on that, on the membership.
Right. So yes, for us, actually, yes, we are also open to universities and to particular faculties. Not every university is fully dedicated to engineering. Some of them have an engineering faculty, so we are completely open to this. Or even sometimes there is a specific institute at the university dedicated to education or engineering education at technical universities. So we have also this kind of associate members then. Yes, I totally agree with Gabi that that the power is in the multitude. It's in the size of the network and in the potential to exchange with people, with colleagues from different countries, from as many universities as possible. And although, yes, we do work kind of more steadily on specific projects within the groups, the participation is also completely voluntary. Nobody is forced to do anything, but people often like to join their like-minded colleagues in in the work for specific things. Also, some of the special interest groups are very, very big and have a large portfolio of activities, if you will. And so you can just join, I don't know, one specific publication or organizing a specific event. It's not it's totally not demanding more from you. But on the other hand, it's really it's a great opportunity to meet these colleagues. People can send me an email. Just to make it very easy, office@sefi.be is the email. It is also possible to apply through our website. So if you didn't manage to write it down, it's not a problem. And yeah, there are also different levels of membership, also starting from the individual membership, right? So the cost is can vary a lot. But for the biggest European engineering universities, say the likes of the TU Berlin or Munich, for that matter, goes up to 2,000 euros. So it's really an inexpensive membership within the, yeah.
Thank you. And following on this, Clara, you mentioned that you have one Czech member within your association. Gabi, is there any Czech organization represented in EASSH? I don't know how to pronounce it.
You can call it EASSH or EASSH. Some people call it EASSH. No, we don't have yet a Czech institution. Or we have several Czech representatives through the association. So the association are European wide. So we have a sociologist, political science, we got medievalists, we got historians, we got philosophers and so on, who are members of the association. So we do have a members from that perspective, but we do not have an institutional member from the Czech Republic.
Okay, so we will try our best to promote that you are here in Brussels and they have to get involved somehow.
Please do.
Okay, ladies. So once again, I would like to ask the audience if there are any questions. And if not, I would like to thank you both for joining us. It was really nice hearing from you what are your activities, and as already mentioned, really fingers crossed with all your future endeavors. I can see that you will be both very busy in the upcoming half a year. And for our participants, I would like just to remind that we will continue with these webinars in 2 weeks, concretely on Monday, 19th of September, when we will hear from the Guild Association, then ATE and Humane Association. So in case you are not yet registered, you can still register via our website, www.cello.cz. And we are looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible. And I wish you once again a beautiful afternoon, even though here in Brussels it's raining, but still enjoy the last summerish days and hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Denisa.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.